Welcome back to our Mackinac Moments here from the porch of the Grand Hotel and the annual policy conference on Mackinac Island with the Detroit Regional Chamber. Very happy to sit down now for my first conversation with Candice Fortman, the Executive Director of Outlier Media. And Candice, thanks so much for the time. As a journalist, I'm thrilled at what you're doing, but in a nutshell, what is your elevator speech when people ask you, what is Outlier Media?
Sure. So Outlier Media is a local startup journalism organization in Detroit that is built to serve the needs of low-income Detroiters. And we do that in a couple of different ways. First, by looking at what their information needs are. So once a year, we assess what Detroiters need to know in order to survive in the city and eventually thrive in the city. We ask them directly that question over text message, but we also look at data like non-emergency 911 calls to United Way to see what they're asking questions about, what they're complaining about, and then that's how we build our beats of reporting.
This is very data-driven, which is really interesting. Well, first off, let's just say that it's interesting that somebody is moving in with a new initiative in the journalism space, because for the most part, we're watching a lot of people getting out of it in this day and age. I've long said that information is the most important resource in the world. The haves have access to a lot of it. The have-nots don't have access to much of it at all. And that's kind of central to your focus.
It is the entire focus, right? We know that quality information changes people's lives, but more importantly, information that is actionable, that people can take up and go figure out how to save their houses from tax foreclosure, how to pay their water bill or their energy bill, how to make sure that their kids have child care that is safe. And during the pandemic, how to get access to, a vaccine, how to get tested. All of those things were critical information. We wanted to make sure people had it right in their hands. So we delivered over an SMS text-based system where Detroiters can text us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, get automated reporting, but also there's always an option to speak directly to a reporter in our newsroom, and within 48 hours, someone from our newsroom reports back to that person immediately.
Where's the funding come from? Where should people say follow the money? Where does the money come from?
Follow the money.
This is you're running a full newsroom.
That's right. So up until last year, we were a two-person full-time shop and 3 part-timers supporting all of this work. And over the last year,
I was going to kill you.
Very quickly. But over the last year, Devin, we've been very fortunate to get funding from the American Journalism Project, from the Democracy Fund, locally from the Detroit Journalism Engagement Fund. So much of it is grant funded. We are increasingly starting to get donations from individuals, from $5 to $5,000. People really deeply believe in this mission and they want to support the work. And then increasingly, we're thinking about ways to diversify our revenue, including helping other communities do information needs assessments to figure out what their communities need to know.
And when we talk about, in fact, you mentioned a few of the scenarios earlier about where this information breakdown happens. It was great to see that that there was an effort recently. Jennifer Gilbert talking about trying to create, along with Mary Sheffield, trying to create a legal defense strategy for people who are about to lose their homes. And then you learn that over 90% of the people who are foreclosed upon don't have any legal representation. And that's an information breakdown.
That's an information breakdown, right? Because we know that there are resources that exist in our community, Detroit Justice League. There are people doing that work, but we need to be able to connect the work to the information and get folks connected to to those folks, right? And it's hard. And I think it's particularly hard when you're dealing with people who are in crisis, because crisis is in itself its own information overload, right? The cognitive load of being in particularly economic crisis, you're working a lot, which is something that people don't think about. When you're having trouble economically, often you are overworking yourself. So you don't have time to go find the resources you need, which is why it's so important for newsrooms to think about how do we find folks where they are.
I can't end our conversation without I want you to talk about the Detroit Documenters.
Yeah, that is our favorite part of this work. Detroit Documenters, it was started by an organization in Chicago called City Bureau. Documenters is a program that trains and pays residents to go to public meetings. So think school board meetings, water board meetings, Great Lake Water Board, and to take notes at those meetings. Those notes are then edited by reporters and editors across the city, because we've built a collaborative project with the Detroit Free Press, the News, Bridge Detroit, and all sorts of other organizations.
You're doing what the papers used to be able to do,
That's right.
but their staffing now
Yeah.
has left a lot of these meetings unattended and unfortunately undocumented
That's right.
in the way you're talking
That's right.
about.
We know that the future, when we look at the crisis that is of journalism, is going to be one of collaboration. There's no longer space for us to be in competition the way that we were trained
Yeah.
to do this work, right? In order for any of us to make it into the future, and we have to make it into the future for Detroiters to have a good life, we need to work more collaboratively, and that's what we're building.
It's so important. Avail yourselves of Outlier Media, because this is the kind of information that really can change lives, because information is everything.
That's right.
Candice, thank you so much for talking to me
Thank you
about it.
so much. I appreciate
Really
it.
great. Candice Fortman of Outlier Media, just the most recent, and as we continue our Mackinac Moments conversations right here. More to come from the Grand Hotel.